Hold on, before you make fun of me, let me explain myself. Sonic the Hedgehog is widely ridiculed everywhere across the internet for how deeply inconsistent it is. The franchise has beaten its fan base into submission so many times by following up a phenomenal game like Mania with some unplayable gutter trash like Forces. And don't get me wrong, the title says near perfect for a reason. Forces, Rise of Lyric, and Shadow the Hedgehog are all legitimately some of the worst games of all time. However, with these few exceptions, and keeping in mind I haven't played Riders Free or any of those weird-ass arcade games, I legitimately cannot think of a single Sonic game that I've played that I did not enjoy the experience of. Let's take a look at some Sonic games that are absolutely despised outside the series' core fanbase. Sonic Adventure is widely regarded as the turning point where everything went wrong, and I can certainly see why. In comparison to the tight, beautiful, silky smooth platforming of Sonic 2 and 3, this game's confusing mishmash of ideas that seemed underdeveloped at best and deeply ill-conceived at worst is certainly a step down from an analytical perspective. And yeah, the Sonic and Tails levels aren't perfect, they certainly don't feel as smooth or as natural as anything in the original trilogy, but does that mean they aren't the most fun I've ever had playing a 3D Sonic game? Does that mean that the extremely linear nature of the levels that gives you a slight feeling of exploration doesn't make my tiny 3-year-old hedgehog brain happy? Not for me, it doesn't. I also just adore the aesthetic of Sonic Adventure. It captures the feeling of lying on the couch as a little kid playing video games on a snow day better than anything else I've played besides maybe Mario 64. And sure, you could say a lot of my love for Adventure 1 comes from the fact that it's my most played Sonic game and I have fuckloads of nostalgia for it, but I don't really think of that as a bad thing. If it enhances the experience and makes the game more fun for me, what's the issue? Do I have to be some epic high-level critic that only enjoys games from an analytical perspective? What's the fun in that? That's just sucking out all of the joy from playing video games for literally no reason but maybe to look cool, I guess? But I'm recording a Sonic the Hedgehog video in a closet, so I don't think looking cool is much of a priority for me. A lot of those same opinions go for SA2 as well, except for replace the Knuckles levels being playable with the Chow Garden, which honestly is a decent trade-off in my book. Sonic Heroes is pretty widely hated due to the fact that it has a decently obnoxious gimmick and some of the worst cutscenes in video game history, but I don't know, I can't help but appreciate how huge of a risk this game took, doing something that hadn't really been done before in a mainstream 3D platformer. It's also the only 3D Sonic game I would describe as being sort of inspired by puzzle games. You have to be quick on your feet all the time and make sure you know which character to switch to when you need to use them. And a lot of the time that's not very easy and makes the game stand to this day as the most challenging 3D Sonic game yet in my opinion. A lot of those thoughts also go for Lost World, which is definitely not good, but I find it a very fun and fascinating experience, and I'm genuinely proud of Sega for taking such a huge risk like that. Sonic 06 is one of the funniest things ever created, and I have no idea how you can play the whole thing and get no joy out of it whatsoever. Everything about it is so hilariously awful that it baffles me that it was ever released to the public, and that's secretly my favorite type of media. Sonic Unleashed is... I can't defend Sonic Unleashed, it's pretty awful, I just like it for some reason. Sonic 4 Episode 1 is another baffling train wreck that I can't help but laugh my ass off at, and Episode 2 is actually pretty underrated in my opinion. I think it's a fairly decent 2D platformer. Sure, it's not anything groundbreaking, but neither are the new Super Mario Bros. Games, and those are still extremely tight, fun, and well-designed 2D platformers. And those are just the ones that everyone hates! I might go into why the ones everyone likes are so great at some point, but as of now I think I'll leave it there, as I don't feel the need to explain to you why Sonic 2 is good. So yeah, even the weakest games in the franchise are for the most part really fun and fantastic for me. Well, not all of them are the greatest games, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you Sonic Lost World can stand toe-to-toe with Mario Odyssey. I still can't think of a Sonic game besides the 3 I mentioned at the start of this video that I don't thoroughly enjoy and would return to. Now onwards to the next game, and I'll be with you freaks wherever the track takes us, because in the words of the great philosopher Barrett Wallace, there ain't no getting off of this train we're on. I'm going to be doing these videos weekly now for as long as I possibly can until I lose my mind, and I can almost guarantee it's only going to get stupider from here. So go ahead and subscribe to this channel, if you will, so you can see every step of my slow descent into madness. I've been the Centipede, and I'll see you next video.
I'm grounded in Centipede.